Welcome, dear friends. Have you ever pondered the mysterious story of Jesus and the demons that begged to be sent into a herd of pigs? This profound narrative, brimming with symbolism and spiritual truths, invites us to reflect deeply on faith, redemption, and the choices we face in our walk with God. Together, we will unravel this story, discovering its timeless lessons and how they resonate with our lives today. Join me as we delve into the profound mysteries and eternal hope found in this gospel account. The story of the demons pleading with Jesus to enter a herd of pigs is one of the most intriguing and profound episodes in the Gospels. Found in the accounts of Matthew, Mark, and Luke, this narrative invites readers to explore the depths of spiritual battles, human priorities, and the boundless authority of Jesus. Let us delve deeply into this tale, unearthing its rich symbolism and the lessons it imparts, with an enriched focus on each detail. The journey begins with Jesus and his disciples crossing the Sea of Galilee, a voyage that becomes an unforgettable testament to his divine power. A sudden and violent storm erupts, threatening the lives of all aboard. The disciples, gripped by fear and overwhelmed by the forces of nature, awaken Jesus with cries for help. With a calm authority, he rebukes the wind and waves, transforming chaos into peace. This act not only demonstrates his dominion over the natural world, but also foreshadows his impending victory over the spiritual forces of darkness. Upon reaching the region of the Gadarenes, a predominantly Gentile territory, they are immediately confronted with a scene of desperation and torment. A man, or two men, as some accounts specify, emerges from the tombs, a place synonymous with death and uncleanness. The man is described as being possessed by a legion of demons, a term that evokes the overwhelming number and power of his tormentors. His condition is dire. He is uncontrollable, violent, and self-destructive, crying out day and night as he cuts himself with stones. Chains cannot hold him, and his presence terrifies the local community. Yet, despite this darkness, the arrival of Jesus brings an unexpected hope. As Jesus steps onto the shore, the demons within the man immediately recognize him. They cry out, "What do you want with us, Jesus, Son of the Most High God? Have you come to torment us before the appointed time?" Their words reveal profound truths. They acknowledge Jesus' divine identity and authority, as well as their own eventual judgment. Unlike the disciples, who are still coming to understand who Jesus truly is, these unclean spirits know exactly whom they are dealing with. Jesus commands the demons to leave the man, prompting their desperate plea, "Send us into the pigs." On a nearby hillside grazes a large herd of pigs, about 2,000 in number. For the Jewish audience, pigs were considered unclean animals, a symbol of impurity and defilement. Jesus grants their request, and the demons enter the pigs, causing the entire herd to stampede down a steep bank and drown in the sea. The choice of pigs is deeply symbolic, reflecting both cultural and spiritual truths. In Jewish tradition, pigs were ritually unclean and forbidden as food. The demons' desire to inhabit these animals underscores their inherent corruption and their alignment with impurity. The destruction of the herd vividly illustrates the chaotic and destructive nature of evil. It is a stark reminder that when evil is unchecked, it brings ruin, not only to its host, but also to everything it touches. Furthermore, the demons' plea to avoid the abyss, a place of ultimate punishment mentioned in Revelation, highlights their fear of eternal judgment. Though powerful, they are entirely subject to Jesus' will, and their desperate request underscores his supreme authority over the spiritual realm. The aftermath of this dramatic event is equally revealing. The herdsmen, witnessing the demise of the pigs, flee to the town to report what has happened. When the townspeople arrive, they find the formerly possessed man sitting calmly at Jesus' feet, clothed and in his right mind. This miraculous transformation should have been a cause for celebration. Yet instead of rejoicing, they are filled with fear and ask Jesus to leave their region. Why such a reaction? The loss of the pigs, a significant economic asset, likely caused alarm. For these Gentile inhabitants, the material cost overshadowed the spiritual liberation of the man. This response reflects a broader human tendency to prioritize immediate, tangible concerns over eternal, spiritual truths. It challenges readers to consider their own reactions to divine intervention. Do we value material wealth and comfort over the transformative power of God? The man who had been delivered from the legion of demons experiences a profound transformation. Once a figure of terror and despair, he becomes a living testimony to Jesus' mercy and power. When he begs to follow Jesus, he is given a different mission. Go home to your own people and tell them how much the Lord has done for you and how he has had mercy on you. Obediently, the man begins to proclaim the greatness of Jesus throughout the Decapolis, a predominantly Gentile region. His testimony amazes all who hear it, spreading the light of Christ in an area shrouded in spiritual darkness. Lessons from the encounter. Number 1. Jesus' authority over evil. This story powerfully demonstrates Jesus' dominion over spiritual forces. Even the demons, who embody defiance and corruption, acknowledge his authority. Number 2. The destructive nature of evil. The stampede and drowning of the pigs highlight the chaos and devastation wrought by evil. It is a vivid reminder of the cost of allowing sin to take root in our lives. Number 3. Human priorities and resistance. The townspeople's request for Jesus to leave underscores a misplaced focus on material concerns. Their reaction invites readers to examine their own values and openness to God's work. Number 4. A call to witness. The healed man's commission to share his story illustrates the transformative power of personal testimony. His obedience and courage inspire believers to proclaim God's goodness in their own lives. This narrative also serves as a precursor to Jesus' broader mission. By entering Gentile territory and bringing liberation, he signals the inclusivity of God's salvation plan. This episode foreshadows the breaking down of barriers between Jews and Gentiles, a theme that resonates throughout the New Testament. The destruction of the pigs serves as a stark reminder of the catastrophic nature of unchecked evil. The chaos that the demons bring to the herd mirrors the turmoil they caused in the man's life. This parallel underscores that evil's sole purpose is destruction, whether it manifests in a single individual or spreads to a larger community. Moreover, the reaction of the demons to Jesus highlights their desperation. Their plea to avoid the abyss reflects their awareness of an inevitable judgment. This paints a vivid picture of the spiritual realm's awareness of Christ's ultimate authority, even as they resist it. Their temporary escape into the pigs does not alter their eventual fate, serving as a reminder that evil's triumph is always fleeting when confronted by divine power. For contemporary readers, this passage calls for a reflection on the idols and attachments in our own lives. The townspeople's preference for economic stability over spiritual freedom is a recurring theme in human history. How often do we cling to worldly security, even when it means turning away from transformative spiritual encounters? The healed man's response, however, provides a stark contrast. His immediate willingness to share his testimony reminds believers of their role as witnesses to God's work. His story emphasizes that spiritual freedom is not an end in itself, but a beginning, a call to action, and a mission to spread the light to others. This event is not only a lesson for the townspeople, but also for Jesus' disciples. As witnesses to this miracle, they are being prepared for their future mission. They see firsthand the scope of Jesus' authority, extending beyond Jewish territories and into Gentile lands. This expansion of their understanding is crucial, as they will soon be tasked with carrying the gospel to all nations. The disciples' journey across the stormy sea serves as both a literal and metaphorical crossing into new territory. Their fear during the storm is juxtaposed with the calm authority of Jesus, teaching them to trust in his power. This trust will be essential as they face their own spiritual storms and challenges in the years to come. The healed man's testimony holds particular significance for building faith within his community. His story is a living example of transformation and redemption, demonstrating the tangible effects of encountering Jesus. For contemporary faith communities, this emphasizes the importance of sharing personal testimonies as a means of inspiring and strengthening collective belief. Personal stories of deliverance and transformation are powerful tools for evangelism. They bridge the gap between theological concepts and lived experiences, making the gospel accessible and relatable. The healed man's obedience in sharing his story underscores the responsibility of all believers to be witnesses to God's work in their lives. This story continues to serve as a profound lens through which modern believers can examine their spiritual lives. What are the pigs in our own world? Are they material possessions, ambitions, or habits that block us from experiencing the fullness of God's power? The narrative challenges us to reconsider what we value most and to evaluate whether those priorities align with God's will. The townspeople's fear-driven rejection of Jesus underscores a broader resistance many people have to the changes faith can bring. In today's world, believers are often called to make difficult choices between spiritual truth and societal pressures, echoing the conflicts seen in this narrative. Each decision presents an opportunity for us to reaffirm our faith, trust God's transformative power, and embrace the liberation Christ offers. Moreover, the narrative of deliverance underscores the ongoing reality of spiritual warfare. Evil seeks to corrupt and destroy, but Jesus' intervention shows that victory belongs to Him. This truth empowers Christians to face their own spiritual battles with confidence, knowing they do so with the ultimate authority on their side. Finally, the story provides a glimpse into the larger redemptive mission of Jesus. His authority over the legion of demons foreshadows the ultimate defeat of Satan and the forces of darkness. The healed man's transformation reflects the promise of eternal restoration for all who trust in Christ. As believers, we are reminded that the power of Jesus not only liberates, but also invites us to participate in His mission, sharing the hope and redemption we have received. In every detail, this account calls us to reflect on the nature of faith, the cost of discipleship, and the boundless mercy of God. Through the lens of this narrative, we are invited to deepen our understanding of Christ's authority and to embrace the transformative power He offers to all who seek Him. By meditating on these truths, we can find the courage and faith to confront the challenges of our time, knowing that the same power that calmed the storm and drove out the demons is at work within and through us. This event transcends its immediate context to point toward the global reach of Jesus' ministry. By healing a man in Gentile territory and commissioning him as a witness, Jesus demonstrates that the boundaries of His mission are not confined to one nation or group. This theme resonates with the Great Commission, where Jesus instructs His followers to make disciples of all nations. It serves as a reminder that the gospel is a universal message intended for all people, regardless of background. Moreover, the man's obedience in proclaiming what Jesus had done for him exemplifies the ripple effect of transformation. His testimony spreads the message of hope and redemption to a region previously dominated by spiritual darkness. This underscores the power of individual stories to contribute to a larger movement of faith, highlighting the importance of personal responsibility in advancing the kingdom of God. For modern believers, the story of the demons and the pigs is both a challenge and an encouragement. It calls us to examine the areas of our lives where we may be resisting God's work, clinging to comforts or fears that prevent us from fully embracing His transformative power. At the same time, it reassures us of Jesus' ultimate authority over all things, offering hope in the face of spiritual battles and life's uncertainties. This narrative invites us to step into the role of the healed man, sharing our experiences of God's mercy and power with others. By doing so, we become active participants in His mission, bringing light to places of darkness and hope to those in despair. It reminds us that every act of faith, no matter how small, contributes to the unfolding story of God's kingdom, a story in which we are all called to play a part. Having explored the vivid encounter between Jesus, the demoniac, and the townspeople, the story takes on greater significance when we examine the deeper threads of faith, rejection, and redemption that run through this narrative. The interplay of these elements not only illuminates the hearts of the characters involved, but also serves as a profound reflection on human nature and divine authority. The townspeople's plea for Jesus to leave their region stands as a stark and sobering moment in the gospel narrative. Despite witnessing a miraculous act of liberation, they remain unable to see beyond the immediate loss of their material possessions. Their request for Jesus to depart reflects a common tension, the discomfort of divine power disrupting earthly priorities. How often do we, like these townspeople, prefer the familiar bondage of sin or comfort to the unsettling yet liberating power of Christ? Their reaction exposes a deeper truth about humanity's tendency to cling to security, even when it comes at the cost of spiritual growth. By asking Jesus to leave, they reject not only the Savior himself, but also the transformation he offers. This rejection reverberates beyond the immediate context, illustrating how fear and misplaced priorities can lead individuals and communities to turn away from God's work. In contrast to the townspeople's rejection, the healed man's story is a powerful testimony to the life-changing impact of encountering Jesus. Once defined by chaos and isolation, this man now becomes an emissary of hope. Though he desires to accompany Jesus physically, his mission lies elsewhere, to his own people. Jesus' directive to go home and tell reflects an important principle in Christian witness, the transformative power of personal testimony. This man's obedience and willingness to share his story likely planted seeds of faith in the Decapolis region. His testimony becomes a living example of how individual transformation can ripple outward, touching the lives of others. It challenges modern believers to consider their own role in sharing the gospel. Are we, like the healed man, willing to proclaim what God has done in our lives, even in the face of skepticism or rejection? This story also underscores the importance of discipleship. Jesus' disciples were witnesses to this extraordinary event, and their understanding of his power and mission was likely deepened by it. Watching Jesus confront the forces of evil and liberate the afflicted man reinforced the disciples' faith, preparing them for the challenges they would face in their own ministries. The stormy crossing of the Sea of Galilee, which precedes the demoniac's healing, serves as both a literal and metaphorical trial for the disciples. Their fear during the storm contrasts sharply with Jesus' calm authority, teaching them to trust in his power even amidst life's tempests. This lesson becomes increasingly relevant as they move forward in their journey, encountering spiritual battles and resistance to the message of salvation. The events in the region of the Gadarenes also highlight the expanding scope of Jesus' mission. By performing this miracle in a Gentile territory, Jesus foreshadows the universal nature of the gospel. His actions affirm that God's redemptive plan extends beyond the boundaries of Israel, encompassing all nations and peoples. The healed man, as a Gentile witness, becomes a harbinger of the global mission that Jesus would later entrust to his disciples. His story is a testament to the inclusivity of God's kingdom, and a reminder that faith transcends cultural and ethnic boundaries. For modern readers, this aspect of the narrative challenges us to embrace the universality of the gospel and to actively work toward breaking down barriers that divide people. The legion of demons, in their desperate plea to avoid the abyss, unwittingly point to the ultimate reality of Christ's authority. Their fear of eternal judgment underscores the certainty of God's victory over evil. While their temporary escape into the pigs results in immediate destruction, it also serves as a reminder that evil cannot endure in the presence of divine power. This truth offers hope to believers navigating spiritual struggles. It affirms that no matter how formidable the forces of darkness may appear, they are ultimately subject to Christ's authority. The narrative encourages Christians to face spiritual battles with confidence, knowing that they stand under the protection of a victorious Savior. The transformation of the demoniac invites reflection on the nature of spiritual renewal. His story illustrates that true liberation comes not merely from the absence of evil, but from the presence of Christ. The image of the man, once tormented and isolated, now clothed and in his right mind at Jesus' feet, is a powerful depiction of restoration. It reminds believers that encountering Jesus brings not only freedom from sin, but also the wholeness of being fully known and loved by God. For contemporary believers, this transformation serves as a call to deeper discipleship. It challenges us to surrender areas of our lives still bound by sin or fear, trusting that Jesus' power to restore is greater than any force of darkness. It also compels us to extend the message of hope and redemption to others, becoming instruments of God's transformative work in the world. While the healed man's story is one of hope, the townspeople's rejection of Jesus carries a sobering warning. Their decision to prioritize material loss over spiritual gain reflects a broader human tendency to resist change, even when it leads to life. This rejection underscores the cost of choosing fear over faith, comfort over transformation. Yet even in their rejection, Jesus' mercy remains evident. He does not force his presence upon them, but respects their request to leave. This act demonstrates God's respect for human free will, while also highlighting the tragic consequences of turning away from divine grace. The story of the demons and the pigs ultimately calls readers to make a choice. Will we, like the townspeople, cling to what is familiar and comfortable, even at the expense of our spiritual well-being? Or will we, like the healed man, embrace the transformative power of Christ and boldly share his work in our lives? This choice is not a one-time decision, but a daily act of faith. It requires a willingness to confront the pigs in our lives, the attachments, fears, or sins that hinder our relationship with God. It invites us to trust in Jesus' authority and to step into the fullness of life that he offers. Beyond the immediate events, the healed man's obedience creates a ripple effect, laying the groundwork for future faith communities in the Decapolis. His story likely became a cornerstone of hope and inspiration for many who heard it. This ripple effect underscores a timeless truth. Even small acts of obedience can yield far-reaching spiritual impact. When we share our own encounters with Christ, we participate in this legacy, contributing to the unfolding story of redemption. Moreover, the healed man's testimony embodies the concept of missionary discipleship. Unlike the disciples who physically followed Jesus, his mission was rooted in his home region. This highlights that evangelism is not limited to distant lands, but begins within one's immediate context. It challenges modern believers to view their own communities as mission fields, where the light of Christ is desperately needed. This narrative holds profound relevance for today's Christians. It calls us to examine our own responses to God's work in our lives and communities. Are we willing to embrace the disruption that transformation brings, or do we cling to the familiarity of the status quo? The story of the townspeople reminds us of the danger of prioritizing temporary concerns over eternal truths. Similarly, the demoniac's transformation serves as both an encouragement and a challenge. It encourages us by demonstrating Jesus' boundless power to restore, regardless of the depths of brokenness. It challenges us to surrender fully to his authority, allowing him to work in and through us. The episode of the healed demoniac in the Decapolis is more than a localized event. It represents the breaking of spiritual and cultural barriers. Jesus' venture into Gentile territory shows the early stages of his mission, expanding beyond the confines of Israel. This foreshadows the Great Commission, where he commands his followers to make disciples of all nations, Matthew 28, verse 19. This inclusionary aspect of the narrative challenges both ancient and modern readers to embrace the universality of the gospel. It reminds us that Christ's message transcends geographical, cultural, and social boundaries. Just as Jesus crossed into a region considered unclean by Jewish standards, we are called to reach out to those who may be marginalized, overlooked, or deemed outside the reach of God's grace. The healed man's testimony stands as a powerful example of how personal stories can catalyze broader change. Returning to his community, he became a living embodiment of God's transformative power. His presence alone would have challenged the perceptions of those who had previously feared or pitied him. His words would have carried a newfound authority, rooted in his direct encounter with Jesus. For contemporary believers, this example underscores the importance of authenticity in evangelism. Sharing our struggles, failures, and ultimate redemption can resonate deeply with others, offering them a glimpse of God's work in our lives. The healed man's courage to speak out serves as an inspiration to all who might hesitate to share their faith out of fear of rejection or misunderstanding. The narrative of the demoniac's healing is, at its heart, a story of redemption and hope. It reveals the boundless authority of Jesus, the transformative power of his presence, and the inclusive nature of his mission. It challenges readers to confront their own resistance to God's work while encouraging them to trust in his ability to restore and renew. As we reflect on this story, may we be inspired to live as witnesses to Christ's power, sharing our testimonies with others and working to bring his light into the darkest corners of the world. Like the healed man, may we go forth boldly, proclaiming the greatness of the one who has set us free. Thank you for journeying with us through this extraordinary story of redemption and hope. What lessons did you take away from the narrative? Have you ever faced moments of choice like those in this account? To reject comfort or embrace transformation? Share your thoughts in the comments below. Your insights enrich our community. If you found this discussion meaningful, please subscribing to our channel for more inspiring content that brings the stories of the Bible to life. Don't forget to like, share, and engage with this video to help spread the message of faith. Until next time, may you walk boldly in the light of Christ, embracing His transformative power in every aspect of your life. God bless you.